When it comes to innovation on the track, Odenthal Racing Products leads the pack. From the highly popular EasyGP camera mounts to our tough case to GoPro case, racers everywhere trust ORP for strength, reliability, and precision. We're proud to be the #1 engine mount manufacturer in the USA. And with our new Easy Bumper Retainer System, you won't get caught out with a failed bumper bolt again. Odenthal Racing Products. Lead or get left behind.
And after a journey that has started in January, has resulted in 2 doubleheaders at Orlando Kart Center, the final round of the 2026 Florida Winter Tour brings us for the first time to a stone's throw from St. Petersburg and Tampa. We welcome you to T4 Kartplex and the final round of the Florida Winter Tour. With the legend, Jason Ewers, my name is Jackson Lambros. Happy to have you with us here for one more weekend of serious fun before the racing season fully gets underway. Jason, sometimes it's not about how you start, it's about how you finish. And we've got a lot of strong drivers across our 7 classes here looking to end their winter series of racing on the highest of notes.
Oh, absolutely. This is kind of what's going to get you just to get that momentum going into the regular karting season. We haven't even begun to really hit karting season yet. I feel like we've seen a substantial amount of racing with some new series coming in during the winter, which is great, keeps everyone's skills going. But yeah, this is going to be interesting for us here because it's hot.
Very.
Orlando was warm last time. It's just flat out hot right now and humid and sticky. And this track has got a ton of grip on it, and it's also pretty bumpy from what we've been told.
That'll make it all the more physical for our first event of the day. KZ, ROK Shifter Masters, as well as Super Masters, and we're not going to waste any time. Visor down command from Ryan Egan. Green flag is flying, and big trouble to get us started. One of the Sodis dropping early.
No, he forgot that there was a delayed
start. Oh, my goodness. Believe that might have been actually the 68 of Morten Von Tuck. I'm not entirely sure. No, Hector Campos in the 19 just dropped the clutch a little bit too early. And just like that, Dominic Karai is going to lead them. Followed back a little bit of a move further back. I believe James Andrus, one of our new names in that AWS machine with the Von Tuck motor. but already battling it out a little bit further back. I want to say that's the Burrell Art of Joe Alves. But, Jason, a little bit of carnage to get us started. We are underway, though, for the first time here in Palmetto.
Yeah, it's an interesting track. You know, when we went around and were talking to a lot of the drivers, it was not a lot of passing zones here. A lot of strategy was what they were telling us. Like, you got to set that move up 1 to 2 laps ahead of time to be able to get where you need to go. Track's very flowy. Like we mentioned, a lot of grip. You can already see a ton of rubber already on that track. You and I walked earlier today, already had some marbles offline.
Right.
So all those things, you know, are things you got to think about as this race goes through, and it's going to be interesting. You know, first time I've heard drivers talk about physicality, like how tired they're going to be after this event.
And, I mean, especially Morn Von Tock, always the first guy to tell you how physical it is, especially behind the wheel of these ROK shifters. But you get to this point where it's no longer that neutral steer, right? You're not just chucking the cart in. And just like that, that might have been the commentator's curse.
That's Morn right there.
Is that actually, no, 486.
Oh, that's James' address. Okay.
So, unfortunately, one down early, and that is actually one of the lone Von Tock entries into KZ. James Andres biting the bullet early, unfortunately. That'll leave it to Dominic Karai, Gavin Ibby, and Joe Alves. Cole Matthewson, your leader in the Masters. Then it's Morn Von Tock, who we mentioned earlier in the Super Masters. That's another one down, and that is a TM cart. I'm not entirely sure who that is.
I'm not sure who the TB cart was either. It's the other interesting thing is how long the straightaway is here.
Right.
Like, you know, just shy of 0.6 of a mile track. But by the time you come off of turn 12, you are flat out all the way to turn 1. So interesting strategy for some of these drivers. You know, a lot of mid-range. Are you going to gear for the inside and give up a little bit on a straightaway?
Right.
Or because that passing zone is into 1, do you just kind of go ahead and try to gear for that straightaway? So we'll see how that all plays out as the weekend continues. But, again, we're leading off here with our KZ and ROK shifter group. All right, we're going to position 4 and 5. So that's Cole and Skitchy, right?
Your battle for the crazy old men, if you will. Cole Matthewson for Rocket Racing. Then it's Skitchy Barnes just behind, who is all over the bumper right now of that RRC Tony kart and is doing everything he can. The Bahamian in the 509 just trying to find a way through right now. But, again, the first time this entire weekend, some of these guys coming in Wednesday in the morning, Thursday afternoon for practice, the first time they've really gotten the opportunity to go wheel-to-wheel racing. And as we know, Jason, even in shifter karts, yes, you have more power. You're doing a lot more with your feet. But because of that extra speed, that opportunity to pass is so narrow. This is going to be your prime opportunity, though, coming down the front straightaway into turn 1. Not fully right-handed, a little bit tighter, or not fully 90 degrees, if you will, smidge tighter. But again, this very tight section, you can see how much these guys are trying to muscle it through this opening section.
Yeah, it's interesting to watch if you get a chance. Watch their hands, how the grip in the track is literally fighting back with the wheel. And, you know, like you mentioned earlier, normally you see a little bit of counter steer, that rear end wants to rotate and you're kind of trying to catch it. Not right now at this track. You can literally see them trying to steer that cart through the rubber and through the corners, which, again, is a lot of added extra energy that you're not used to having to be doing. I mean, this grip level is Sunday grip level on a major national event. So,
absolutely.
Yeah, it is the first thing I noticed when I seen here. And another great thing is this track hasn't been ran for a while. So this is a new track to a lot of these guys. They haven't had an opportunity to experience it. I like it. It's flowy. It looks very technical. I think it's going to bring up some good racing like we talked about. You're going to have to force a pass to make it work. Unlike Orlando, where there's quite a few passing zones, and we saw some new passing zones as the weeks went by. But, yeah, as we're watching there, it looks like, you know, Cole's gapping a little bit on Skitchy. Not sure if Skitchy maybe heated his tires up a little bit, missed a shift, but he's got that probably about to a second gap now. We'll see if they can continue on that. But Dominic Karai is all by himself up there. And EB's a new name we haven't talked about in the KZ class. So maybe he can get up there and actually give Dominic a chance for it. But little shocked on Alves, though. He had such a great qualifying run there, kind of sitting back in third. I think, did I not see the Morgado motor on that cart?
I can confirm, and Morgado is on site, although I believe that's more of an more of a coaching role than anything right now, helping out both with Dominic Karai as well as Caden McQueen, who's on deck right now in SV Senior. But it's been a runaway right now for the Velocity Sodies this time around. Morgado essentially de-atomizing the field to get us started. Then it was Karai in round 2. You could say the same about Morn Von Tak in that Shifter Supermasters field as well. Has been always almost double digits in seconds clear of that field. But this has been your prime battle in the Shifters right now. The
Sketchy trying to make a move there. He likes that area there. Obviously knows that there's a place that he can put it down, but just couldn't get it quite in there, and that allowed Cole to kind of get the door closed and continue moving on. That kind of killed Sketchy's momentum right there. Who was that in that TB?
Matthew Sanford, also on a Von Tak motor, but bringing his own TB out. I can see some retro stickers, by the way, all the way back to the old school rocker logo and the rock cups of that TB cart, or at least the graphics on it, have seen plenty of life. But we'll see what he can do later on in this weekend. He'll have to start back where he did. Again, we'll do non-progressive heats here, so your qualifying position is going to maintain regardless of where you finish in the heats. But for a lot of these guys, this is going to be a repeating topic as we go throughout the weekend here. Points are going to be paramount, and you're earning them as soon as we've dropped the green flag here for our first round of heats. Your first set of points for the weekend is going to come after Heat 3 going into the pre-final, but you need to start earning good results and earning good positions right now, especially if you're in a tight championship fight like this one right here between Sketchy Barnes and Cole Mathewson. So you can't really keep your cards close to your chest this weekend. If you have pace, you got to show it immediately.
Oh, absolutely. And I think as a racer, you're kind of just wanting to do that in general anyway. Right. This isn't going to be the first or last time that Sketchy and Cole are going to be battling each other. I know Cole is kind of going to be racing a little bit more this year when we talked to him last time in Orlando, but still kind of on a limited schedule for him, really kind of helping the team out more than anything else. But, nothing like seeing one of your team managers go out there and win the class.
Look at this. Gavin Ibby trying to find a way through the 421 Burrell, our first real attempt at a move into that high-speed left-hander of turn number 1, but you can see how much it's actually costed him taking that corner offline because he sent it too deep, was then too far right for that second corner, and has sent him way back. And now very quickly, this has become almost a 4-cart freight train from Alves all the way back to Sketchy Barnes. And if these two continue to go bumper to bumper, you just see now Morn Von Tak going in and out of the right-hand side of your screen there. If these guys go fangs out, it could very quickly become a 5-cart freight train. But the Twin Sticks coming out next time by. It'll be 3 laps to go. And Gavin Ibby, who was doing everything he could to close that gap, is now suddenly trying to fend off from both Cole Mathewson and Sketchy Barnes. Look at this.
Yeah, we're going to get 2 to go at the stripe here. See what's going to happen. That is very impressive by Cole and Sketchy to be able to run them down.
I was actually going to mention earlier on, Cole Mathewson in happy hour practice was the quickest man out on track. And we talk about the ROK shifters being more of a spec package. Not a lot you can do to it. A little bit lower power for the KZs, but it's meant to be a more equal package. KZs always allowing a little bit more of that technical innovation, more tweaking to it than others. So it's surprising to see these guys making roughly, 2.5, 5 less horsepower, really keeping up with the KZ guys.
Well, it's because it's got such massive mid-range. The
right.
ROK shifter does. But you've got that monster straightaway. So it's what are you going to pick and choose on an engine package? And I mean, obviously right here, the ROK, I think, is probably a more favorable engine to have just because of all the middle section of this track. Much longer area than just that 1,200-foot or 1,000-foot straightaway that we have.
And that's not something you can necessarily hide away from putting in a correct gear, right? Because there's only so much of a range you can have here as we see the white flag. Look at this, all the way down to the white line now. Mathewson continuing to defend from Sketchy Barnes. Now tries to set up some kind of crossover into turn number 3. Is still not able to get there, but Mathewson is going a little bit middle there, trying to defend. Now looks very, very clear. But how about this very interesting turn of events here as the Masters, they've always not had the hardest of times keeping up with the KZs out in front, but this time in this weekend could especially be an exception to that. But the checkered flag coming out, Dominic Karai going to cruise his way to a victory here in KZ, and by the skin of his teeth, Alves winning out over Ibby, and Mathewson just able to fend off Sketchy Barnes. There's Morn Von Tock taking the victory in Supermasters. So a good show there to get us started in the shifters.
Yeah, I am a little surprised on. I thought for sure with the long straightaway, the KZs were just going to eat it up. But again, it goes back to that mid range, and hats off to OTK and for making a engine that's, I mean, very affordable, pretty much rock solid performance on those engines, and be able to hang with the high end KZ packages. So good for those guys. Good run for Karai. Not much going on for him. Alves and Ibby. You got Mathewson, Barnes, Von Tock. As you're basically rounding out the group that was up front, and then you had the back step guys there. You've got Juan Esteban, Hector Campos, Edgardo Ortiz, Hernando Sanchez, Matthew Sanford, who's out, and James Andres, who was out. So interesting times. I mean, all the times within a second of each other. Pretty happy with that. So it should be good. Again, we'll see how attrition's going to play. Like, who's the most fit? Because I know that's going to have something to really do with this. And that's going to be kind of that you can see right there, just exhausted coming off the track, fighting the heat, not alone the grip on this track.
Dominic Karai already looking like the one to beat. We'll have to wait and see. But two duels definitely looking like they're on deck. One for the middle step of the podium between Alves and Ibby, and one between Cole Mathewson and the guy you're seeing on screen right now, Scott Sketchy Barnes. That duel going to continue tomorrow morning as we'll continue our first round of heat racing here. And we'll move over to the 125s with ROK SV Senior on deck here from Palmetto.
You're watching a Jason Larea creative Rock Cup USA production.
On to the premier class, ROK SV Pro. And we've got ourselves a rubber match. Caden McQueen of Velocity Racing by Sodi. The Rocket Racing Machine of Alan Isambard, just points separating them. The question is, who's going to come out on top?
Oh, yeah, it's going to be absolutely the question. It's going to be a great battle through the weekend for these guys, because it is a nice little prize package to win the Florida Winter Tour.
Yes.
So good for those guys. So we'll see what goes on throughout the weekend. And, you got to have a little good luck. And you also have to learn how to set these carts up correctly. And I think we have some great opportunity here to see some fantastic racing as the week progresses.
these guys down to an absolute crawl to allow them to work their way in. Chase Gassiet Lee on pole for the first time for Team Bennick. Alan Isambard 4 points back, will be on the outside. And Davin Roberts and Caden McQueen right behind him with Blake Nash, Levi Sangera, Sebastian Venegas, Victor de Alencar, Wyatt Downing, and Wrigley Keys. Green flag for the first time in SV Pro.
Yeah, absolutely, as they're working their way through. We're going to see who's got their stuff dialed in. A lot warmer right now than it was this morning sessions when they went out. Qualifying was a little bit, 6 minutes, so now they're going to be out there for about 10 to 11 minutes. Kart's going to get really hot. Tires are going to get really greasy. So we're going to see what they're going to be able to do as they're working their way through on here. Yeah, good to see Chase Gassiet Lee taking the pole on here. I was kind of curious because that's 5 points for winning the pole. So that would have been a huge swing right there for your 2 points leaders right now between McQueen and Isambard. But none of those guys put it on pole. So hats off right there to Chase. And especially on that Bennick chassis. They've been doing a lot of work on that thing. Good to see them in the full-size karts.
Already defending right now as Isambard looking to find a way through into turn number 1. You've got Davin Roberts for Ryan Perry Motorsports just behind. You can very quickly see that gap start to form with Caden McQueen and Blake Nash further behind. We got to remind you here, again, these engines are on a lottery system, so not a lot of tweaking enabled for all of these motors, and at the end of the day, they'll turn it in. First thing tomorrow morning, you'll go and get yourself a brand new one, completely random. Have only heard phenomenal things of the parity of this engine. You can already see right now just the kind of on-track product it produces, because in the blink of an eye, it's gone from a pair of duels to a 3-car battle. We're nearly 3 wide as Caden McQueen gonna chug it to the inside and try and make mincemeat of Davin Roberts, move him up into P3.
Yeah, it's the first pass we've seen going into 1, so that's good to see that happening right there. But yeah, like you said, the SV package is a phenomenal package. I wish more race series would do like this lottery system. It really does put it back on the driver, put it back on the team, and really learn how to set the chassis up. Another great pass right there.
Trying the cross up, will try and go the long way around, but loses it in the kink. And immediately, Caden McQueen is right there. But these are some expensive moves, Jason, because all of this battling out in front is starting to back this entire freight train up. Now you see Victor de Alencar, Blake Nash get into the frame. No defense from Chase Gassiet Lee, and a very quick move. Little bit too deep there, though, as Caden McQueen said that Sodi went offline. Did something happen to that motor?
No, he protected himself. He was going to come down the hill, and he steered away and be able to very, very unselfishly, I guess is what I want to say right there. So, good move from McQueen. He knows he's fast. He'll find himself right back up there. The good thing is it was the slowest part of the track, so he's not going to lose a ton.
The only problem for the rest of these guys is that is chopped the head off of the snake almost immediately. You can see that gap now between Isambard and CGL, and these guys are going to need to go a little bit of bumper to bumper to try and close that gap. And even if that's the case, a lot of these guys behind know that they need to maximize their point output if they want any chance of still being in here, especially Davin Roberts, Chase Gassiet Lee, Blake Nash. You got McQueen coming in as your championship leader at 11:21, then 11:17 for Alan Isambard. Davin Roberts at 9:65, 9:18 for CGL. Then you get really back with Blake Nash at 8:81 and Levi Sangera at 8:20. So a lot of these guys, I don't want to say are willing to throw haymakers to still have a conversation in winning this championship. But if the opportunity opens itself up, especially for a guy like Davin Roberts, who's currently in the championship, he would love to be running ahead of the guy in front of him right now if he was given that opportunity. So us now 5 minutes into our maiden heat, but you get the feeling that as the time runs down, Davin Roberts is going to run out of patience. That purple lap for him doesn't help as well. 42.973. You see those last lap times on the left-hand side of your screen. But you continue to see Chase Gassiet Lee cool runnings out in front. Alan Isambard, Davin Roberts, Blake Nash. And that pack then a little bit further back, it's Victor de Alencar, a little bit on an archipelago with Caden McQueen leading that fellow rocket of Sebastian Venegas, Jose Halpin, Wyatt Downing. So a couple of different packs now starting to develop.
Yeah, Caden's back up to 5th after a little risky going from 3 a couple laps ago. So he's got himself back under control. We'll see what he can do, if he can kind of barrel down and catch the back bumper of Blake Nash as we're working our way through with just about 5 minutes to go. Yeah, interesting. Right now, this is the first racing miss that we saw. The shifter flash, yeah, we saw some stuff going on there, but not quite like we do with like the pack racing, the parity of the SV motor. So this is really kind of showing us where you can make some moves at on this track, because really I haven't seen much racing on this track, so it's not really necessarily know exactly where passing points are, but we're going to be able to see a little bit more. So no one definitely we saw Cade and try to stick 1, 2, and 3. That didn't work out so well for them, but working their way through the track here, and again, grip level here is just different.
Not only is it rubber being laid down, but as we walked the track earlier, almost rubber being torn up off of the track, as we saw some parts of the asphalt filled with Rhino liner actually getting torn up right now. So definitely a lot of aggression right now from these karts. It's been a busy couple weeks for Palmetto. And this venue obviously hosting the opening round of Florida Karting Challenge last weekend. Sebastian Bourdais was here with a ton of all-stars for the Karts for Kids rental event. And obviously that's going to continue into the next weekend. Tillotson T4 Nations Cup coming up as well. So busy month here in Palmetto.
Yeah, very busy, guys. And this track is so much fun. Motorcycles out here. It's going to be insane. Isambard purple on that last lap with a 42.5. I mean, the parity on these engines is crazy. Look at the fast lap times and the last lap times for everybody within
a tenth.
I mean, it is just insane. It makes for great racing. Like I said, that Bennett out there with Chase Gassioli is looking really, really good. And what was interesting when we were walking around the pits and having to talk to some teams is the setup is different than they normally would because of the bumps in this track and because of the grip. They're setting the karts up different than they normally would. For one, because the rubber, when it gets laid down, just amplifies the track. So when that kart hits it, it's hitting the right. So they're trying to minimize how much it really affects the chassis as they're working through the corners. So it's going to be interesting to see which way these guys go, and it's just going to get more grippy as the heat is up and more rubber gets laid down.
I think that's what terrifies me the most is the fact that there's still grip that can be taken into this track, and there can still be a lot of rotation that can be built from these karts as a result. But again, you mentioned the physicality, right, and just how bumpy some parts of the track is. Great example right here for turn 5. The heat amplifies that, the humidity essentially doubles that. So as we've said, repeating kind of theme this weekend, very, very physical. And as we roll on to Sunday, I think high 80s, maybe or 90s on deck for finals day. It is going to be a challenging weekend for some of our guys going, I mean, as far as 15, 20 minutes out on track. Very physical for these guys, but
going to make a move on Gassioli here to get the win. And Isambard right now is sitting pretty good. So the Queen's pushed back to 5th. Isambard is 2nd. Of course, he definitely wants to be on the top spot after this race, but we'll see what they've got going on. And I can tell you this, I'm sweating in an air-conditioned building. I can't even imagine what it's going to be like with these guys in a suit and helmet out there.
Almost wishing that they had some kind of cool suit, right? Like the big car guys have given the opportunity. Davin Roberts just in the back of your picture, activating the DRS, doing anything he can to try and close this gap. But it is very much evolved into a new duel. A little bit of work to the outside from Isambard. Gassioli gave him the gap. But is this going to continue to be a battle? No door really open right now for Isambard. Trying to cross him up here, working through the short chute into turn number 10. Kink has not been an opportunity we've seen yet for an overtaking opportunity. But Isambard right over the rear bumper of this Bennett. He's been studying CGL in front of him for the past 5 minutes, but Gassioli has a phenomenal exit. You can see Chase defend down low. Davin Roberts starting to crawl his way back into this battle.
Yeah, you looked at the last lap. Coming off of 12, Isambard got a really good run and had to back off the gas going into 13, and I think that killed his run. I think he was trying to set it up, but he kind of got surprised on how well he got out of the pole. Let's see if he can do it again and maybe give himself a little bit of a gap before going in, and that's going to allow him to kind of jump all over the back of Gassioli as he hits the straightaway and do a little bit of a slingshot.
That was the 305 of Wyatt Downing, by the way, you saw on the inside of turn number 3. The lone Millbrook Karting Academy GFC is out, but the white flag is out. Chase Gassiet Lee going to try and go flag to flag for heat number 1 here in Palmetto. First victory not too far from here at Homestead at AMR Motorplex, has yet to win a final on the national weekend, and he's been given so many opportunities so far in ROK. But with how good the parity of these motors are, look at this, Alan Issenbar trying to go the long way around, side pod to side pod. CGL still giving the inside. Issenbar gonna tuck back in. Davin Roberts now very much grabbing a seat at the table. Little bit of a defense to the middle. 200-meter dash to the finish for heat number 1. Issenbar pedaling. CGL gonna take victory in heat number 1.
That was a very interesting line that Issenbar took going through that, coming out of the horseshoe. Kind of caught me off guard. He kind of went high, got a little loose up there, so he wasn't in so much grip and was able to get a great run. Unfortunately, he was on the outside going into turn 10.
As this racetrack develops, though, do you think that's going to potentially become more of an opportunity?
We'll have to see, because then you got to start worrying about picking up marbles out
Right.
there. And you pick up marbles out there, next thing you know, you're going to end up built up rubber on your tires. Tires come out of balance. You're going to the cart's not going to handle right. So, but yeah, it was good. It's going to be interesting to see. I don't know if Issenbar was just trying some things. Like, okay, I want to try this. I want to try this. Studying what Chase Gassiet Lee has, but Issenbar had a faster cart, just couldn't get by him.
Again, not the big money maker in terms of points, but when 4 is the difference, you need to gather everything you can. And for Alan Issenbar, he will be thrilled to see Caden McQueen 3 carts back from him. That rematch going to continue into tomorrow morning. We'll step aside as GP action is on deck with the juniors here in Palmetto.
You're watching a Jason Larea creative ROK Cup USA production.
Also, how's my exposure on 2? Exposure on 2? .125cc action continuing here from T4 Kartplex as we've started our first round of heat races. Round 3 of the Florida Winter Tour. Tristan Murphy on pole for ROK GP Junior. Nico Katowski and Nico Orbezo in third. We welcome Marco Fazzari and the entirety of the Racing Edge Motorsports tent at that for round number 3. Fazzari in 4th, Achilles Superco in 5th, with Josh Bergman back in 6th, Lucas Trevery, Clayton Stiles, and Noah Anderson rounding out your small but mighty GP Junior field. Katowski coming into this final round as your leader, 11:48 in points. Nico Orbezo
right there with him. It's going to be a Herculean task for the Iron Rock Motorsports driver there, starting inside of row number 2. But he did it before. We'll have to see if he can potentially roll it back. Same for Tristan Murphy, looking for his opening victory here. A handful of heat wins, has not turned that into success on Sunday. He's in the best spot possible, though, to make that happen as we go racing for the first time in GP Junior.
Wow, bad start for Nico. Got stuck on the outside. Hopefully he can make his way through. I mean, it was an interesting qualifying round because they were trading punches between Murphy and Katowski there on qualifying. So, looks like Nico got the move done through 3 right there. So now he's leading the pack. Let's see what happens here. If he can just tuck his head down and build himself a little bit of gap there, if Murphy's just going to stay there.
Look at that as well. Josh Bergman up 3 positions from the start. That dark blue MPG Kart Republic machine has really been a rough weekend. We talked to Chase Jones earlier in MPG. A lot of these guys kind of throwing the kitchen sink, not just for MPG, but the entirety of this ROK Cup paddock, trying to find a way, as we mentioned earlier, to find grip in these karts. REM move here as Vazzari chucks it to the inside of Orbezo. That'll be a done deal for P4, and very quickly, that has made it a 3-kart battle, and it's been the usual suspects. Still Katowski out in front, Murphy and Bergman in tow.
Yeah, you can just see that visualization of going through that complex of 3, 4, just how bumpy the track is. You can see the kids' heads bobbling around and the hands on the steering wheel. So very physical track, as we mentioned earlier. So it's going to be interesting how these kids are going to maybe manage their energy levels. And same thing for the older racers as well throughout this.
So 3-kart breakaway. Here comes Bergman with another look into turn 1. Not too much of a fight back from Tristan Murphy, and the Red Bull Junior driver in what could be his last race in North America before moving over and doing some racing in Europe over the summer. Trying to make every moment here count. We talked to him a little bit earlier. He's appreciated the challenge of racing here with so many different backgrounds, whether it's the teams like REM, like Goodwood Kartways that we've had down from Canada, the plethora of South American teams, D2 Motors, a handful of different Argentinian talents as well coming out, but it's a very different group than what he's been used to, especially with how much he's, even at the start of his career, raced in Europe, again, lives in the US full-time, but mom and dad from the UK, still has a house in London that he'll spend almost half the year in. But he's very much flexing to the entirety of this paddock right now, and has impressed the scouts at Red Bull to prove that he's international level talent.
Oh, absolutely. It's great to see. Talk to mom and dad a little bit today. Just genuinely some of the nicest people I've ever met. So I'd love to see them supporting their son, trying to get them to get to the highest level of racing that you possibly can go. But right now, Katowski's really fast right now. He's definitely pulling that gap. Looks like either Bergman slowed down a little bit or Murphy has picked it up. Murphy's picked it up. This is purple that last lap. It's going to be about a lap to 2 more, and you're going to find Bergman really with his hands full with Tristan right now.
Further back now for Nico Orbezo. And again, we talked about a unfortunate round 1, if you will, for him. Got a pass around the outside from the Red Bull kid, Josh Bergman, to lose out in GP, and then essentially got the exact same treatment from the guy now leading in VLR. But in the time since then, got an opportunity, was our recipient of the Radford F4 scholarship, and we talked about it in Orlando too. That lit a fire under the kid because he went back-to-back in both VLR and GP the weekend after that. So he'll be trying to carry that momentum to those 2 championships as well. But for the Iron Rock Motorsports team, the small group out of Texas, they've taken those struggles as much as any other team right now. And that OTK right now, the 238, trying to pedal their way into this main pack out in front. Josh Bergman going purple that last time by. You see it on the left-hand side of your screen. About half a tenth quicker over Nico Katowski. That doesn't seem like a lot, but again, still 4 minutes on the clock. That'll equate to, I'm a word guy, not a math guy, but that's at least 5 or 6 laps here. You can already see on screen that gap's pretty close now as both Murphy and Bergman doing that fray.
Yeah, I think Bergman felt the pressure with Murphy coming up and just really kind of stepped the game up a little bit, pushed the car a little bit harder going through the track, and that's just allowing both of those guys to kind of catch up and back at Kowalski. Like I said, plenty of time left, and we mention this all the time. Catching somebody and passing somebody is totally different.
I think especially at a venue like this, because this is not Orlando Kart Center. You don't have a ton of long straightaways, really wide entries, added runoff from previous times we've been there. It definitely isn't marble smooth like OKC either. So it is a completely different ballpark. And again, in a environment where we're so used to seeing guys start the car in a very kind of loose configuration and then reel it in, it's been very much the opposite. Go tight, try and find grip, and then back it down to try and get to the point where the car can rotate just a smidge more. But again, that has been very much a premium at this point. Murphy now actually looking a little bit racy. You saw a little bit of a peek to the inside into turn number 9, but Bergman has realized that immediately and has turned up the dial almost immediately. 3.5 minutes. I think what's also interesting here, Jason, fastest lap, 42.706 for Josh Bergman, half a tenth quicker than Kwiatkowski. But as this heat has progressed, the track itself has heated up. I think the humidity has increased as well as the day has progressed. Not a lot of these guys are watching those lap times go and drop down.
Yeah, they're not at all. I mean, again, nothing with these kids is, most of these, they're running VLR Junior as well, so they're double dipping.
Right.
So that's just being on that track twice and having that effect of the heat and just the physical running of the cars. Very rippy track.
Draft always important in the sport of karting, but as we work over to VLR here well, after we do our cadets, those two on deck next, mini and micro. But once we move on from that, you're going to really see the importance of draft. We're losing 25 cc's, we're losing a good chunk of power. And you're going to see some real, if you haven't seen karting yet, it is very much all about maintaining the draft, staying in a peloton, and staying in contention. You're seeing that right now, obviously, with Tristan Murphy. Of course, the minute I say that, these guys aren't finding lap time. The 211 RPM machine does go quick as 42.590. Again, the question is, can he use that pace to potentially find a space and mosey on through? Look at how much the top 5 has really spread out here. You just saw Marco Fazzari come to the back of your picture, just there behind Nico Orbezo. But it is very much now barely a 3-kart breakaway with still a second between Kwiatkowski and Bergman.
Yeah, Bergman's done a great job of keeping Murphy at bay behind, but I think the little bit of defensive mode kind of stopped him from trying to catch Kwiatkowski.
Right.
He had that gap there on Murphy for a while, and that's when he was closing that gap down on Kwiatkowski. Now with Murphy on the back, he's got to play a little bit more defensive. Can't run that car as speed as he wants to run that car, and that's just allowing Nico to kind of pull out.
Got to keep in touch with the Kwiatkowskis, obviously, because little brother Jack is indeed on deck. We'll be running ROK over micro, if I got that correct. But both Kwiatkowskis, very full season of racing ahead of them with Don Bailiff. The entire TKG group will be doing some shifter stuff as well at home at MCC in Batavia. So a lot of racing, a lot of kart racing of a lot of different types on deck for both the Kwiatkowski brothers. Not sure if they'll be doing any of the FC stuff, Rotax round, but I know they're doing the 85cc as well. Again, real racing season just started here in a couple of weeks. This was always going to be kind of the finale to winter racing, if you will. But again, Winter Nationals coming up. First the Rotax rounds, both of those in Tucson. And we get to that point as well where a lot of the kids maybe have the opportunity to go and race in Europe, like Josh Bergman, again scheduled to go do some WSK rounds. I think maybe some FIA karting on deck as well. Gets that opportunity and will gladly take the flight and give a shot against racing against some of the best on the planet. Twin sticks out for the 292 Burrell. Nico Kwiatkowski, smooth and fast, out in front, 1.1 seconds clear of Josh Bergman.
Yeah, basically start the finish for Nico there, uncontested at all. So had the one pass that he made on Bergman, right? Or no, it was actually on Orbezo at the beginning. And that just put him to the top and never looked back.
Got to give the flowers as well to that triple too, though. Josh Bergman again, 3 at the start, and then made mincemeat with both Orbezo and Murphy, but has just not been able to close that gap. First heap of points coming up. A little bit of a check over the shoulder, maybe a little bit of shock there for Nico Katowski, who will take the white flag. That 1.1 second gap will build, and the patience has vanquished for the 211 of Tristan Murphy. He wants that P2 spot. He got a little bit of contact there with Bergman. Bergman down low to try and defend. We've seen attempts of a cross up here. Big contact there between the 222 and the 211. Orbezo working his way back into the mix a little bit further back as well, into the carousel and the hairpin for the final time. Katowski gonna laugh all the way to the bank to take heat number 1, and Bergman out like a cannon will surely run away with that second place spot. But as this goes on throughout the weekend, this will be far from over here on Friday. Murphy, Orbezo, Marco Fazzari, Clayton Stiles, Lucas Driebi, Achilles Spierko, and Noah Anderson rounding out your field of 9. We got the caddies coming up with Mini and Micro next here from T4 Kartplex.
When it comes to innovation on the track, Odenthal Racing Products leads the pack. From the highly popular EasyGP camera mounts to our tough case to GoPro case, racers everywhere trust ORP for strength, reliability, and precision. We're proud to be the #1 engine mount manufacturer in the USA. And with our new Easy Bumper Retainer System, you won't get caught out with a failed bumper bolt again. Odenthal Racing Products. Lead or get left behind.
You're watching a Jason Larea creative ROK Cup USA production.
Back here from T4 Kartplex, and trouble to get us started for ROK Micro Heat 1. That is certainly one of the Orsilon OTKs. I'm not entirely sure who specifically, but that is heartbreak to start the weekend for the 81. Emmett Dalton, though, will be on pole position. Enzo Bertero, and we just talked about Nico Katowski, brother Jack. Oh, more trouble. 24, Caden Armani, yes.
Yeah, these guys look young.
One of the CRGs, one of the few CRGs on track, and more drama further back. Oh my goodness. 29 of Cohen Scott. So big time trouble for 3 different karts out on track.
Racing hasn't even started yet.
No.
Interesting.
That is your front row, though. Emmett Dalton for Velocity Racing, and the sister Orsilon of Enzo Bertero. And that is indeed going to be the yellow flag. So we'll go for one more time. And it looked like that other Orsilon did get the opportunity to get that re-fired. But oh my goodness, what a chaotic start to get us started here in the cadets. Cohen Scott, Caden Armani, and Romero Ferrante all having issues trying to nurse their 60cc power plants. So we will re-rack them, restack them, and try again one more time. And that'll give us an opportunity here to run through your starting grid. Emmett Dalton on pole for Velocity Racing. Then it's the Colombian Enzo Portero and that Orsilon Racing OTK. Jack Katowski, brother of Nico, for Trinity Karting Group, has that Burrell lined up in P3. Then it's Franco Schiavo for TW Racing in 4th. Braxton Shiflett for Norberg Karting Academy has the 7 in P5. Sam Avila in the 66 for Orsilon Racing. Aria Denehauer and Leo Yankowicz round out row number 4. Then it's Chase Coleman, Marko Mitrovic, and Scarlett Stash. And oh my goodness, do we have more issues for potentially the 8th there? Chase Zolman. Again, a lot of these guys, I think the increased heat maybe, or the increased humidity, has maybe had the tuners scratching their heads in trying to get this going, but we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, from what I've noticed, these motors do not like to go slow.
Yeah.
So I think they're just loading themselves up, and I think what happened there was Zolman, and he just kind of was waiting back a little bit, so he didn't have to go so slow.
Right.
Able to clear the motor out a little bit, so he didn't worry about it dying when they get to the start-finish line here. So we'll see what's going on. This is not – the lineup is awful right now. Here we go. All right, they got it in line.
Emmett Dalton had him down to an absolute crawl. But we do indeed have the green flag. And look at this, Jack Katowski going to try and send it low into turn number 1.
Got it.
Looked like Shiflett was trying to go with him further back, but Romeo Ferrante will block him off for P3. But Katowski very quickly going to gain 2 positions at the start. Dalton will gather it up and patch it up for P2 with, I believe that is Botero now, Ferrante, Schiavo, and Shiflett.
Interesting, though, it's that third place cart
right,
is almost come, if they did not take the lead on lap 1, they're fighting for us. It's a good spot to be. I think the pole position guy is kind of going up to get that run out into 2, to where the third place guy is just kind of tucking in and staying low, as you saw Jack just do.
Who's going to be the first to the stripe? Just barely Katowski, but Emmett Dalton nearly goes side pod to side pod there into turn number 1. But still cool runnings here as the Katowskis are going to try and sweep Friday here in Florida. A little bit further back, Ferrante pedaling to work his way into the mix. This has essentially become very quickly a 2-part breakaway, though. But I mean, you really don't get the feeling that Emmett Dalton has any real hopes of working with him. You see him immediately now chuck it to the inside of turn 10. Katowski going to try and fight back. You saw the crossover. You can finally move your pole sitter in that Venom helmet back to the lead. What's the response going to be here from Jack Katowski? Dalton looking over the shoulder. Looks like a little bit of bumper to bumper there. Katowski agreeing to push. Again, all about building insurance from Ferrante, from Shiflett, and giving nobody else, or as few people behind, the opportunity to be a part of this battle as possible.
Yeah, I think you're right there with Dalton. I think he just knew that he had a little bit faster car than what Katowski had at that point in time. He's just like, all right, I'm going to check out here and see what happens. We'll see where the setups are at, where Jack maybe dialed in little bit lower air pressures. I think everyone's running lower air pressures right now than they've not normally used to doing, just because of the amount of grip that this track has.
Yep.
We were out there and you could just see the tire
almost riding the rim, right?
Yeah, I mean, it was pretty impressive to see. Just kind of letting that cart get into that rubber and just letting that grip kind of take yourself around the corners. But we'll see what's going on as they're working their way into turn 3 here, which is another interesting. There's so much rubber down turn 3, that hairpin down there, that it's going to get extremely difficult to turn a cart through that corner as the weekend progresses.
I want you to take a look at the line of Emmett Dalton, especially once we get back to the stripe here and turn number 1, because he was swinging it really, really wide on entry. I'm giving him flowers for that, because it's an esports kind of optimization, going as wide as possible, optimizing your racing line, and going a little bit over the white there. You can see him using the curb on exit. How's it going to look on exit going over the white line there? Everybody. So again, good optimization there. But watch this. Does he go onto that concrete on the outside? Yes. You see Jack Katowski doing the same. Again, if you just have that little bit of a patch of concrete on the outside, as long as I'm keeping my tires out of the green stuff and I'm allowed to do it, I'm absolutely going to take that opportunity to swing it wide, get another 10th or 2.
Yeah, I think what that's also doing is allowing them to just turn in a little bit later on that corner, and that's setting you up to go into 2. As you notice that it's kind of more of a straight shot coming off of 1 into 2 to set you up for 2, 3, and on through that middle part of this track.
Got a handful of onboards this morning. We'll hope to have those ready for you tomorrow morning for our second and third round of finals, as well as the pre-finals. But as you've already seen, it is one very, very long straightaway, followed by what is almost a motocross series of switchbacks and technicalities. Overtaking opportunities outside of that really going to be at a premium. And so far, though, especially for these young cadets where you're working your way out of just learning the sport of karting and really learning to go wheel to wheel, learning how to build gaps, learning how to work with others. It's been a phenomenal job so far for Emmett, not just to battle with Katowski, take that position back, but really build that gap. It was 8/10 last time, certainly more now.
Oh, absolutely. He's definitely done a great job at really not looking back at all either. Like you said, swinging really wide, maximizing the amount of momentum that he can with that kart. Just keep pushing it. He's got clean air out there, nobody to worry about, no one on his tail, so why not just put down some blistering laps?
A little bit of a move further back. Sam Avila in the 66. That's the D2 Motors machine. And I believe Enzo Bertero, or no, that is Franco Schiavo there in the 46. Very, very rarely you see a lot of CRGs, especially at the top level. You see them a lot with Kart CRG USA, Texas Sprint Racing Series, a little bit west of here. But the small mom and pop team here for CRG has done a phenomenal job of carrying the flag for the orange and black. I mean, really, really strong in cadets. You saw Schiavo really in contention at the Orlando rounds. Hasn't been quite there yet in Palmetto, but still plenty of time. And he's in phenomenal company here. Sam Avillo, Leo Yankowicz just behind as well. A very good battle here. This is for 5th on back to P7.
Yeah, absolutely. What was interesting today as we're going through and talking with some of the guys in the pits, a lot of micros moving up the mini today.
Oh, yeah?
So, it's kind of like, okay, if you didn't have a chance to be in the points to have an opportunity to win that, why not move up to the classic? So we're going to see probably a little bit more of a stacked mini field than we normally see. It's going to be interesting to see. I think Max Santana is one of them that has moved up. We interviewed him today. Excited for him to get a little bit more of a powerful kart and see what they can do.
Schiavo trying to defend from Yankowicz as that D2 Motors machine tried the inside, a little bit wider there for Avila as he tries to defend, just finding any open pocket. You can try and stuff that orange CRG through, and there has been zero flex, or zero flinch, if you will, from Sam Avila out in front. Not even a glimpse over the shoulder. I think he just knows those two behind are battling. But this could be the move that Franco Schiavo has been waiting for. Inside of the kink, has the pace, has the space move. Franco Schiavo up into P6.
Yeah, first time we've seen the pass there stick, so that's good to see. The track's getting a little racier now as the grip and the track is getting a little wider with grip levels, and you're getting more karts out there, so you're not going to necessarily get stuck out there in those marbles.
Yankowicz trying another peek there into turn number 1. Sam Avila not giving him the opportunity. Twin sticks out, 2 laps to go for ROK Micro. And Avila trying to patch it up and bring it home in P7. Schiavo getting the opportunity to take off here. Yankowicz for D2 Motors. Danilo Ramallo we'll see here in a little bit as well. The headman trying to close that gap. We'll check in a little bit further up the field, though. As you can see that gap growing between Katowski and Emmett Dalton. So you look at this with the white flag, Braxton Shiflett. Podium in round number 1, top 5 in round number 2, has been one of the promising early drivers for Norberg Karting Academy. Currently in P4, again, dueling with those two Orsolans alongside Romero Ferrante, another podium sitter in round number 2. Enzo Botero not there quite yet, but trying to develop. As the checkered flag comes out, Emmett Dalton gonna run away with it to get us started for round number 1. Jack Katowski not able to close that gap. It's the first victory of the weekend for Velocity Saudi. And Jack Katowski, Burrell Art, TKG has got their work cut out for them. Romero Ferrante, Braxton Chiflet, and Enzo Botero round out your top 5. A little bit of a drag race further back. And Avila just barely able to hold off Leo Yanklowitz there.
Yeah, I mean, just a dominant performance by Dalton there. That definitely put a big stamp on where he's going to be at this weekend, and everyone else is going to have to figure out how to catch him.
There you go. Rock Micro and Emmett Dalton starting this weekend. P7 in the standings, mind you. Could have a big opportunity here to not only move forward, could walk away as an FWT champion. We'll have to wait. Rock Mini coming up next from Palmetto.
Looks like they got a tractor out here doing something. I don't know if there's a car down near you, Quest, they're moving.
Yeah, they're taking the carts off that's stalled. Camera 2's pictures.
Cadet action continuing here as it's the ROK Minis on deck. Restrictor ripped off, a little bit extra weight. And it'll be Vicente Aguilar on pole at 164 AM Engines machine. The Argentinian starting alongside Caden Caldera. Then it's Cooper Lopez in the 104C RG. Hudson Howard for MPG. Timo Ahmed, Nico Salazar, Dutch Westbrook, Max Santana, Luke Volpit, and Randy Romden rounding out your top 10. We're 13 deep here for ROK Mini. And Vicente Aguilar coming in from pole as your championship leader, essentially has this one wrapped up. 12:52 the points. You go back to Aiden Go, who isn't even here this weekend, no. 968. You look back on track, Nico Salazar for Orsalon at 941, and he is 6th on track. Vicente Aguilar for AM Engines looking to lock this up. We'll see if that journey can start right now as we go green in ROK Mini.
Yeah, I tell you, the surprise here is Dutch Westbrook's qualifying run all the way back here in 8th. Dutch is usually one of the guys up front, so we'll see if they just miss something on that setup, allow himself to work his way through and see if he can just maybe do a little bit better racing.
Hudson Howard able to move one position up as well, part of that MPG 10 this weekend with his dad, Jay, IndyCar driver, Indy 500 driver. As a little bit of a look further back, looked like Nico Salazar trying to make some moves early on. Caden Caldera and the Velocity Sodi trying to work his way forward. But all these guys equidistant. Again, 8 minutes on the clock. And it'll be Cooper Lopez first to the line. Here's a move for the lead. Hudson Howard into turn number 1. Lorenzo Lopez trying to make it stick. Can't get there just yet. Nico Salazar just behind in the Orsalon, but move Hudson Howard to the lead.
Yeah, and there's, that's sitting back there. What is that, in 5th spot? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Max Santana is at 6th. In 6th spot, he's the kid that moved up from micro to mini. So obviously the extra horsepower is not affecting him at all. He's probably enjoying it, to be honest with you.
Yeah. But again, very cool. Part of this package is essentially from ages 7 to all the way up to, I believe, 11 or 12. You're able to run essentially the exact same engine and chassis package. The only real difference here, again, for Max Santana, you're losing that engine restriction. You're getting a little bit more ballast in your weight. But apart from that, essentially the exact same go-kart. So a lot of data you can go for. A very solid base to launch your karting career. Purple lap for Vicente Aguilar, 46.826. That's the Orsalon just a little bit further back. He got passed actually by Nico Salazar, 128. And again, you're one guy really with an opportunity to close this championship gap. 941 points would be absolutely a Herculean effort to try and make that happen. But absolutely anything can happen here. We've certainly seen it before in the closing rounds of Florida Winter Tour. Hudson Howard able to fend off these two behind Lopez and Aguilar for at least one more lap. This is a 3-kart breakaway now, as you just see behind. Salazar continuing to bleed off pace. Caden Caldera and Dutch Westbrook battling a little bit further back, but this is a brilliant 3-kart quartet going at it. Here's a chuck from the inside for Lopez. Aguilar trying to go with him. 2 wide, working their way into the kink. And Lopez goes back to the point. Maybe not for long, though, because you saw Vicente Aguilar try and get to the point as well. Had to back out of it.
Yeah, great move right there for Lorenzo Lopez in the CRG. Kind of set it up like we talked about. This isn't just you're going to get in and make a pass. Like, these guys are strategically thinking where they need to make their moves 1 to 2 laps ahead of time. And that was a perfect example right there for Lorenzo Lopez on that. And actually, Howard almost closed the door on Aguilar. Did not get it done, but wisely enough, kind of just found himself back in line, so he didn't lose any more of that momentum, and is able to still just tuck in on that back bump of Aguilar as we're working our way through. But kind of sitting out there on an island of his own is Nico Salazar, hoping that the top 3 is going to start battling. That'll allow him to kind of close up. But the front trio is doing a great job. Smooth pass there by Lopez. Didn't lose any momentum. And I think that's going to be the difference between seeing from this track and what we saw in Orlando is that the passing, I think, is going to be more high-speed passing.
A lot more about carrying momentum, far less stop-start than what we saw at Orlando. The pessimist will tell you that's less overtaking opportunities. The optimist and the Jackson Lambros will tell you that's more of a track that rewards good driving, rewards carrying momentum, and leads to more exciting racing, depending on what we see. We certainly are seeing it right now. Lopez, Aguilar, and Howard still battling. And Salazar trying to get into the mix as well. He was able to break away from Westbrook and Ahmad because Ahmad sent a heck of a haymaker into turn number 1 and kind of severed the head from that from 5th to 6th on back, excuse me. And now it's actually starting to become a 2-car breakaway. Good pushing from Aguilar. Will look to the inside. How much does Lorenzo want to fight it? He immediately goes off throttle. He knows that could have been trouble. And that'll be our 3rd leader now of Heat 1 for many.
Yeah, and I think that was really smart on Lopez. Just kind of tucked back in, knowing that Howard was there as well. If you're going to battle that, you're probably going to drop 2 spots. Same thing happened to Howard a couple laps ahead of time. Tried to fight off that position, and next thing you know, Aguilar got himself around. But yeah, good running right so far. You know, haven't seen a lot of action today. I think everyone's just trying to feel this track out.
Absolutely.
Like where can we make moves? Where am I faster at? You know, it's not uncommon that we don't see a lot of back and forth. It's a kind of a long day right now. Tomorrow is going to be a marathon day for everybody. So I think everyone's just kind of buying their time, getting some time and going deep on the binders right there. Going into 1 was Aguilar. Got that car a little sideways, or as our old friend would say, slideways. Just doing some well. These kids are definitely driving a great race, a very smart race right now. Good to see Hudson Howard in there as well.
Yep.
You know, first laps of this race and now tucking way back in and showing some great pace. Probably going to be able to make a move on Lopez. As I said, that just happened right there. So, you know, these kids are really kind of starting to show us where we can make some moves and see some passing going on.
CKNA Grand Nats winner has been racing for about 2.5 years now with Dad. Started in kid karts, was taken to the cadets. Phenomenally well. Big step out again there for Aguilar, going really late, as you mentioned there, on the anchors into turn 1. Look at that, Howard swinging it a little bit wider there. Trying to defend right now from Cooper Lopez. 3-way duel for victory in heat number 1. And Aguilar right where he wants to be to extend this championship lead. Salazar too busy right now battling and dueling.
I'm not sure. We may have
Ahmad further
3
behind.
to go here. May 2. I don't. Depends when he hits the line. It's going to be really close as we get to the line. Definitely going to be 2 to go as we're at the line. There you see the twin sticks in the air.
Look at this.
Move
Hudson
here by Howard.
Purple lap last time by. Will move to the inside. Haven't seen anybody get the opportunity to really fight back. You think about the hairpin potentially being an opportunity right there in turn number 3. They're just far too tight to really get an opportunity to throw it well.
Yeah, there's just not a lot of time or room between 2 and going into 3 to be able to set anything up. It's such a reactive turn right there. Another great pass.
Aguilar, Howard cycling back to 4th. Lorenzo Lopez going to go with him. So, or excuse me, yeah, 3rd now for Hudson Howard. What we have seen a lot, though, that crossover into turn 7, working your way onto the short chute. And then if you're able to go alongside down low, you've got that kink, that right-hander of turn number 9 to make it down low. Speaking of down low, Vicente Aguilar trying to cover from Cooper Lorenzo Lopez. Nowhere to go for the 149 of Hudson Howard. All of this still not giving Westbrook quite the opportunity, but he's moved forward phenomenally as well. P6 now up to P4, had a purple lap, and is just out of reach now of this battle. Can he get any closer, and does anyone have anything for Vicente Aguilar? This was a prime opportunity earlier. Howard trying to send it down low. Cooper Lorenzo Lopez makes contact with Howard. Big trouble between the both of them, and Vicente Aguilar gonna get the opportunity now to run away with it and take victory in heat number 2. What's happened to Cooper Lorenzo Lopez? Where did he end up? Jumping in the seat is Hudson Howard trying to clear the competition, but Dutch Westbrook able to get there for P3. Cooper Lorenzo Lopez picks it back up for P4. with Nico Salazar, Kimo Ahmed, Luke Volpit, Bautista Pugiles, Max Santana, and Liam Oslis rounding out your top 10. That got good at the end there.
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly what happened right there. I don't know if Hudson tried to put the cart where it didn't need to go, or if Lopez was just sitting there and took it for a little bit of a ride. But we'll see what happens there as we go through. But great battling. What a great race for that top trio as they work their way through. Good finish there for Aguilar. And like we said, we had 3 different lead changes throughout that race. And those kids showed us some areas on the track that we haven't seen anybody else yet pass.
As is kind of the tradition for the cadets, right? Both micro and mini finding ways to make moves in places that aren't necessarily possible in the full-size carts. But that was a big theme. Obviously, we talked about Christian Damianidis, Maxwell Macha making the move up to the full-size carts and feeling like you almost lose that superpower, not being able to make moves where you were previously able to go. But that is heat number 1 for ROK Mini, and you certainly get the feeling that that could be anyone's game. Starting to put them off the stands here as we get ready for VLR Junior coming up next.
Camera 3 is going to change the battery for the transmitter.
We move on to VLR Senior. Air-cooled 100cc engines bringing us action to end off day number 1 here from Palmetto. It's Aiden Andrade, the Canadian, Racing Edge Motorsports on pole position. Then it's Joaquin Galero Pizarro for SLA Karting, surprising us in row number, or on the outside of row number 1, I should say. Mick Gabriel as well for AEM Karting. Get some more familiar names as we move on. Sebastian Garzone for Orsalon, William Bouthier for Racing Edge, Colin Lloyd, our championship leader, way back in P6. Then it's Victor de Alencar, Sandy Fernandez, Mauricio Hernandez, with Tiziano Rosso, the Frenchman, for Norberg Karting Academy, rounding out your top 10. Colin Lloyd, your leader here in the championship. Jason Ewers, he's going to need to find a way to move forward here to hold this lead.
Yeah, it's going to be a battle. You got some names here. So we saw Gabriel in round 1. Wasn't here in round 2 in Orlando. Back now in round 3. Am I correct? Was he here in round 1? Yeah, I remember seeing him out there. Had some speed, pace, kind of lost it throughout the week. You know, I've seen Mick run for a long time. He's a Midwest kid, so always had some great pace. So we'll see what he can do. Obviously, qualifying P3 is a great spot. We've seen P3 be a great spot here last couple races. They've been able to take and make the move for the lead right off that first lap. So nice slow start as we're going to the line. Let's see what Ingrata can do.
Green flag in VLR Senior. Ingrata gonna try and cover low into turn number 1. We stay clean and green. Joaquin Guerrero Pizarro gonna slot in just behind. Then it is Sebastian Garzon. Mick Gabriel, Colin Lloyd able to gain it, what looked like a handful of positions further back. Our 26 rockers in VLR Senior go to war for the first time. Big send further back. I think Tiziano Rosso trying to make a move in the mid-pack melee. But you take a little bit of a closer look at your championship battle right now. Colin Lloyd, your leader at 107, your round 1 winner. And then Chase Hand was frankly coming in just ready to kick over some sandcastles and frankly dominated the entire weekend. As you see this big melee further back, I want to say Santiago Fernandez for Kalki, and that is actually further back. Yeah, P6 on back. You saw him white line into turn number 1. He's done a very good job right now holding on to that position. But Colin Lloyd, your winner, or your leader, I should say, 11:07. Then it's Mel Hernandez at 10:44. With Sebastian Garzon at 9:88. That's realistically your championship 3 in contention. You look a little bit further back, Joaquin Guerrero Pizarro at 902. Maybe making a championship 4. You drop back big time after that. Bernal Valverde at 7:30. But for Garzon, looked really strong. He's looking strong right now on track. Had the purple lap is P3. Now for Santiago Fernandez leading this kind of remainder of this train right now. It's going back right now to about Colin Lloyd, behind Gabriel, Garzon, Pizarro, and Ingrata. But then it's the cow cab of Sandy Hernandez. Easily in the rest of them, he's the fastest on track.
Yeah, it's, speaking of Colin Lloyd, got a chance to do an interview with him today. So it's kind of interesting to hear his take. You guys will hear that probably tomorrow. Just what he needs to do to defend to be able to get that championship and really once gets that ticket punched.
Have to apologize after the mishap after round number 2, as Santiago Fernandez is nowhere near a stranger to ROK Cup USA. Matter of fact, last time we saw him before round 2, he was airborne in Houston. Big contact at the end of the straightaway. I'm not sure if you remember that, but essentially did an airborne 180.
I do remember that.
And aside from that, pretty much Super Nationals last year, he meant to call it a career. Wanted to step away from karting, just focus full time on his studies, but got a good opportunity to use some of his coaching money for Kalki to go and run that, and I mean, frankly, wowed us. And if it wasn't for the simple domination that Chase Hand had in that GFC, he would have certainly been in victory lane, but is able to carry that momentum, make one more surprise appearance, and I'm not sure what the remainder of his schedule is going to allow. But as we've seen, he's always been a contender. He's doing everything he can right now to just make it a little bit closer. It's actually the one just behind him, Victor de Alencar, the 977 for Evolution. That is the fastest man on track right now.
I was a little shocked to see de Alencar back as far as he was, but obviously just missed a little bit in qualifying. We're going to stay here on that 4th and 5th position, which is Colin Lloyd and Vic Gabriel. Dropped back a couple spots. Started 3rd, down to 4th. But, you know, as we talk about that Magic Award parity, like, I mean, it really is. These VLRs are so close with each other, and the driving is just impeccable with these guys. Not seeing any early blocking right now, so it's allowing the field to kind of stretch themselves out and kind of just make a single file racing line with these guys. But we'll see what happens as we get ourselves going. 5 to go plus 2. If there's going to be anybody that's going to sit there and challenge Ingrata for that lead.
When the track is this gripped in, it is absolutely paramount to have the right motor under you, and that is exactly what everybody essentially has right now. But that's that added importance, right, of having a good motor builder underneath you when you're not in a fixed engine system. Because yes, a quarter of a horsepower isn't a lot, but when you're in a 100cc engine, that's, I'm going to fudge this number, but ballpark 20 or so horsepower.
You're about right.
That extra quarter of a horsepower could be the difference of 10ths on track, which is eternity.
Especially when the driving talent is so equal. You know, if everyone's equal and you just have a quarter horsepower more, you know, that's going to make a huge difference. Like you said, it's only a 10th, but a 10th over 10 laps is a second. that's good math. Fast math, old school math. But yeah, as we're working through, Andrada's still doing a great job keeping a bay on that lead spot. It was interesting earlier today too when we interviewed Nico Katalski. He talked about the dirty air with the heat and everything, how he needs to keep the cart out of that dirty air, and we've mentioned that before. And so many people can't believe that aero is such an effect on these carts, and it's more today than it's ever been. With the panels that they have on them, and there's a reason why they're shaped up the way they are shaped. So, it's going to be interesting as the weekend progresses, and if that air is going to get dirtier with the humidity.
Look at that, Santiago Fernandez making a move on Colin Lloyd. That'll put him in the top 5, and not where Colin Lloyd needs to be, as now I believe that is Victor D'Alencar in the 977 Evolution. Another new team this weekend based a little bit further north in Florida. Doing a really good job again, top 10 in ROK Cup debut. Really good stuff right now for Santiago Fernandez to continue to move on forward.
Yeah, part of me's thinking too with Colin, of course he wants to be up there, but he also does not need a DNF. So I don't think he's going to put he doesn't need to chase anything right now. Right? He just needs to make sure he gets finished.
And crucially, he's ahead of the guy in second place in the championship right now, Mauricio Hernandez. He's a little bit further back, the D2 Motors 917. Are we going to see him on track? There, you just barely see him there in P9 on track. This will be a great takeaway, though, for Sebastian Garzon, who you just see now, actually, in P4. Now towing Hernandez down to the inside. We'll try the long way around into turn number 1. Now you see Jose Alejandro Halfin try to go on Lloyd as well. That'll be a done deal. So Lloyd continuing to hemorrhage speed here, which has surprised us for the Velocity Racing driver. But what another clinic being put on right now by Santiago Hernandez, doing everything he can to move his way forward, make the most out of what could be his last weekend for a real long time.
Yeah, why not just throw everything out that you have and just leave it out on the track? So, it's only race 1 of a long weekend. This is a long weekend for these guys. And remember, they only get 2 sets of tires, so they have to manage these tires as much as they possibly can. With this track and the way that the grip level is and the heat that we have, it's going to be even more prevalent to be able to manage tires more than anything else.
I think the heat obviously being a major factor in that as well. We're just now seeing some cloud cover on track almost for what feels like the first time today. But this thing has been thoroughly cooked by the sun so far this Friday. And that has led this tire management to be absolutely paramount. As you heard from Jason there, 1 minute on the clock. Aiden Ingrata clear by 1.2 seconds of this field. Santiago Fernandez trying to move on Sebastian Garzon, the American versus the Colombian for Orsilon Racing. 2 SCUSA Winter Tour wins. That Orsilon OTK driver at the head of this quartet. Is he able to defend from the guy who he dueled with essentially a year ago on Rock Power, also at Speed Sports?
Yeah, Andrada is just very impressive this run right now, just kind of from green flag to checkered flag as we're working our way through. But, the interesting thing in Florida, you never know if it's going to rain or not. So I'm looking at the skies, and it's not quite overcast yet, but it's always an opportunity for rain to come. And actually, as I say that, we're getting reports that there's some sprinkles in turn 1.
Oh boy.
So we'll see what that does. That just happens to be the fastest part of the track.
Oh boy. Just when you think you've seen it all, the going could get very, very interesting on track. And I think I am actually seeing some droplets here against the broadcast booth and a couple of confused faces here at the fence line. We'll have to wait and see if that affects anything on a track, or if that's trying to fight the sun with a squirt gun. We'll have to wait and see, but 3 laps on the Tecker here. And Ingrata still smooth sailing out in front, 1.2. Now clear of Joaquin Pizarro. Potentially a really good walkaway here for Joaquin, 5th on the standings, but I don't think he's had a podium finish so far this year. He's looking very much on target to do that. Great result so far for both of our home teams here, SLA Karting and AEM Karting, the two groups based out of OKC, didn't really get the opportunity to necessarily flex their muscle at home. Now driving a little bit up north, the Palmetto could have that opportunity. A little bit of a peek to the inside for Garzone. The entire party has arrived. But can Garzone defend? Oh, trouble! Santiago Fernandez! A little bit further back, not able to really find the pace right now in terms of championship. And that journey starts right now.
Waved
Or
off.
one lap away, excuse me, as I think we had a couple guys off the tram lines, maybe a handful of drivers a little bit too eager to get going. So we'll re-rack them and try one more time.
Yeah, it's good to see. That second round at Orlando was really a struggle for Katowski.
Right.
So good to see them figuring out what the issues are, put themselves back up on top, on pole for this one. Got to give yourself a vote of confidence, especially coming off of that GP Junior win, looking very dominant there.
So again, 11:64 for Isaac Malquit, then it's 10:56 for Nico Orbezo. 1006 for Tristan Murphy. Maxwell Macha not here this weekend, so then you go back to Cameron Johnson at 876. He is white hot after the past 2 weekends on a K1 circuit in Winchester. And we'll have to see if he can potentially work his way into the mix as well. Malquit, Orbezo, and Murphy, your main three, looking to run away with Florida Winter Tour glory. And the battle for the title starts right now as we go green and VLR.
Good clean start for these 30 drivers. Nice to see, working their way through, everyone being patient. I don't think anybody wants to have to rebuild a go-kart tonight in this heat. So, I would give up a little extra room if someone needs it. So, yeah, working our way through. Nico up top right now. See if he can hold them off as we're working through. If they're going to be able to work together, kind of allow themselves to build a little bit of gap on the rest of the field. Nope, as I said, that good little move pushed out wide. That's going to allow, what is that, Matos to come back into the play there of that top three. Nope, that's completely wrong, guys. I'm going to have to go to my
You're good. That's Santiago Orioli for P2. That was putting Katowski aside. We got a meatball flag out already for one of our drivers. We'll try and identify who that is as soon as possible. But Katowski first to the line, then it's Orioli, Malquit, Tristan Murphy, Nico Orbezo, Darren Kidd, Marco Fazzari, Cam Johnson, Dominic Molinesco, and Achilles Superco rounding out your top 10. Still about 5 karts in this lead pack. No one really going bumper to bumper just yet. And I feel like every time we see this sort of happen in 100cc racing, you can hold the lead, but the question is for how long? Still very good running here, but now it's very quickly become a 3-kart battle. As look at this late lunge there. And the MDR machine. Isaac Malquit able to slot into P2. That was expensive though, as it's 2 kart lengths now separating between them and Katowski. And you see Isaac Malquit, fastest man on track. He's using it to the best of his abilities.
Yeah, he got a great run off of 1 into 2. Had to try it, and tried to get it to stick. Nico was able to fight back, allow himself to get about a 4 or 5 kart length lead right now. But Malquit is on fire as we're working our way through with a little under 7 minutes to go in this. Everyone's tucked their head down, like you say, manual
DRS. No attempts there from Malquit on Katowski. Was about the same in terms of striking distance, and I think that was more Orioli just going a little bit shallow on exit. I think blocked the rears as well, and that gave the opportunity for Isaac to mosey on through for P2.
Yeah, I mean, it's not going to be a matter of time. If the top 3 start blocking a little bit, that's going to get Murphy, Kidd, and Orbezo back into that battle. We're going to have a fight with 6 karts to the lead.
Again, the more that Katowski kind of white lines it, goes down low to try and defend, that's going to give everybody a shot all the way back, potentially to Mustelmeko, Fazzari, and company. And here we go, move for the lead. Malquit going to go down low into turn number 1. New leader, the LN kart of Isaac Malquit.
Yeah, we'll see if Malka has the pace to be able to pull out, or if Kotowski is going to be able to tuck in behind and make a move again. It seems like turn 1 is their favorite spot to pass right now, getting a good run through 12 and 13, able to carry that momentum into 1, because everyone's kind of hanging out high going into 1 to kind of do a late apex on that. But as they're working their way through this horseshoe carousel area, we like to call it, onto the main straightaway, we'll see what, if anything, Kotowski has.
First time Kotowski's had to smell exhaust so far this Friday. And he is in good company out in front. The guy who swept in juniors at ROK Vegas last year, winning both in GP and VLR. One of the top dogs for Mike Doty Racing, running as well for Brandon Jarsuak across the national level. And has had a very promising start to his season. A little bit wide there on exit. That's going to give an opportunity here. And Malkit knows it. You see him covering down low into turn 10. And just parking the bus on the apex, not giving either of these guys an opportunity just yet to try and cross them up. 4.5 minutes on the clock, and it still looks like some light rainfall actually working down the front straightaway. No move yet from Nico Kotowski, but Santiago Orioli is absolutely right there with them, just waiting in the wings, because the moment one of those two are offline, he's going to be ready to pounce.
Absolutely, and Nico was working every angle he possibly could that last lap, trying to get around Malka. Had some great momentum, just didn't have the right timing set up to be able to make those passes stick. See what he can do here, and really doesn't seem like any cares that Orioli's right behind him with what he was trying to do before. I don't think, and we've known this before, Nico doesn't like to not be. He loves to be out front. So we'll see what he can do as they're working through to turn 1 with 3:45 plus 2 to go. Nothing there as we're working from 2 into 3. Kind of staying the same equal distance between each other. You can see Kotowski just fighting that wheel as it's working its way through that thick rubber through these corners.
Yep. Further back, Nico Orbezo back in 6. That's in between Darren Kidd and Cameron Johnson. 2 positions gained, by the way, for Cameron Johnson. 5 positions gained for Dominic Muscanilco as he's worked his way up from P13 to 8 in the Triple 8 for Rocket Racing. I believe we've not seen him until this round of the tour, but the Canadian really flexing that muscle further back. Rocket Racing, Jason, has had such a strong tour so far this year, whether it's Cole Mathewson in the Shifter Masters. You got Alan Isambard as well, Sebastian Venegas. Those two.
Yeah,
obviously, Paul Son Jackson really looking strong in junior as well. A little bit further back in the mix this time. I'm not sure where he's at on track right now. P13 for the Florida native, but overall, a very, very strong start to their season.
Yeah, that team's really come on a lot this year. It's been great to see, and I think with Cole kind of being back involved with them a little bit more, I think that's just kind of helped the other kids. And you know, when we talked to them in the second step of Orlando, they really did a good job at talking about how the kids have just really matured and gotten a lot better, and I think that has a lot to say about that team, coaching, and leadership that they have.
We'd certainly say the same for Mike Doty Racing, as the group from New York has come down to the Sunshine State after, again, as we mentioned, a phenomenal bookend of the 2025 season. But it's not just Isaac Malkit, Darren Kidd in P5, Max Miltev in P9 joining this group for the finale. Same for Alon Dwyer back in P19. But that's across VLR groups, as well as I believe Isaac Malkit running in GP Junior on top of that. But a minute and a half to go on the clock here. Then the Twin Sticks coming out. Kotowski continuing to observe away past Isaac Malkit.
Yeah, he stuck his nose out. I thought maybe he was going to try to make a move into 1, and he kind of went back in line. But he got a great run coming through 13, and you could just see that gap from Malkit close down. But, you know, we talked about that earlier today. Like, this track's 2 different beasts. You know, you have the middle track that's windy. Do you gear more for that, or do you gear more for the straightaway? And I kind of, as we see here, Malkit will gap on Kotowski through the middle section of the track, but then Kotowski will run him down with a little bit of that draft and probably just a little bit of a different gearing, and just has a little bit more pace at the end of the straightaway.
3 laps to go in VLR Junior. Isaac Malkut, matter of fact, looking to put a gap on. What was that hand up from Nico Katowski? I'm not sure if there's maybe frustration with the motor there or something, but clearly some frustration under the helmet of the 892. Your pole sitter, kid who still has the fastest lap on track, by the way, just not able to gap in to Isaac Malkut. Again, this is critical for Nico Katowski to try and close this gap. You could say the same for Nico Orbezo, Tristan Murphy. The one thing they need right now is to still be in the picture. And unfortunately for them, Isaac Malkut has not put a hand or wheel wrong to get this championship campaign started for the final round.
Yeah, great run for Malkut so far. Didn't let, Katowski taking the lead there for a little bit. Got himself around him as fast as he possibly could, and he's just kind of put a great little race on here. Stay consistent, hits his marks, not being not really messing up his lines. When he was being pressured by Katowski, and able to kind of gather himself again, and with 2 to go here at the line, pretty dominant performance from him.
We mentioned it before, Katowski's been tough to beat in GP, but that move over to VLR looked strong in round 1, but he had a handful of woes to deal with in round 2. I think that also surprised a lot of people in the paddock, how you could return to the exact same venue a month later, and different conditions, different levels of grip, completely transformed the venue. We ran the exact same configuration, the exact same karts, and yet you had so many drivers complaining that for reasons they couldn't really put their fingers on, it just felt like a completely different go-kart.
Yeah, the temperatures were different.
Right.
I think that was the big thing, and that was like the first real warm day that I think a lot of these teams had, or warm weekend. So kind of figuring out how to set the karts up, tire compounds, and things like that. Every tires are a little bit different. We say they're not, but sometimes they just are. Different batches that come out, but everyone's on the same playing field, so everyone has to deal with that situation throughout every race weekend. Just who can make the changes correctly.
We'll have to wait and see. It's looking good though for Isaac Malkut, who might need to spend a little bit less time on the wrenches tonight with Mike Doty. And the 870 has been picture perfect throughout Friday. He'll take victory in heat number 1 with the purple lap on the way to it. No, Katowski is able to actually find something there.
Last lap,
but unfortunately turns the wick up just a smidge too late. We'll still roll it home in P2 with Sandy Orioli in 3rd, Tristan Murphy, Darren Kidd, Nico Orbezo, Cameron Johnson, Dominic Moselneko, Max Mitev, and Luciano Dalhez rounding out your top 10. Looking good for Isaac Malkut, but again, still plenty of racing ahead of us as we work our way into tomorrow and into Final Sunday.
Yeah, I mean, like we've said all day, today's kind of like checking everything out, seeing where passing can really be done as the grip levels are picking up on this track. And then I think we're going to see some great battling.
Well, folks, that's your lid lifter for round number 3 here from Palmetto. But as you know, we are far from down. The big day ahead of us tomorrow, though. 2 rounds of heats and super finals before, of course, Final Sunday and the crowning of our 18th Florida Winter Tour champions, the 11th on ROK by Vortex Power. We're happy to have you with us, and we hope you join us once again tomorrow at about 8:30 Eastern Standard Time for the action to pick back up and we get back to serious fun here from the Florida Winter Tour. This has been a production of ROK Cup USA and the Florida Winter Tour. Our producer is Brandon Hacker. Our director is Jason Larea. For everybody here at ROK Cup USA and JLC, alongside Jason Ewers, this has been Jackson Lambros reminding you to join us one more time, or 2 more times if you will, starting tomorrow at 8:30 a.m. for more serious fun from the Florida Winter Tour.